September 2nd, 1859, radical abolitionist John Brown was hanged in Charlestown, Virginia. The charges, treason, murder, and insurrection, came from his daring but doomed attempt to ignite a slave revolt by attacking the federal arsenal at Harpers Ferry. Brown believed slavery was a moral crime so great that only bold action could end it, and in a deeply divided nation, that belief would lead to violence. But why did John Brown's raid fail? And how did his effort help ignite the Civil War and ultimately end slavery? By the late 1850s, slavery was already splitting the country in two. The North's industrial economy viewed slavery as immoral and outdated. The South's agrarian system depended on enslaved labor and demanded its protection. Each side insisted its truth was the only truth. In 1854, tensions exploded in Kansas. Brown and his sons were at the center of the violence known as Bleeding Kansas. They went so far as to murder 5 pro-slavery settlers at Pottawatomie Creek, an extremist move born out of his belief that only force could stop slavery's spread. In 1859, Brown escalated his mission. With a small, racially mixed band of 21 men, including formerly enslaved followers, he raided the armory at Harpers Ferry. His plan? Seize weapons, retreat to the Appalachian Mountains, and wage a guerrilla war to free enslaved people. The initial phase of the plan succeeded as they captured buildings and took local men hostage. But soon, news spread of the raid. Local militias surrounded the town. 2 days later, U.S. Marines, led by Colonel Robert E. Lee, stormed the engine house and captured Brown. Brown showed no remorse. To some, he became a martyr. To others, a terrorist. But his execution helped ignite the Civil War just 16 months later. That war finally pushed the nation to abolish slavery, the cause for which Brown had given his life. In 2023, I visited the site of the raid in what is now West Virginia. The town of Harpers Ferry looks remarkably similar to the way it did back in 1859. I especially enjoyed standing in the engine house, where Brown's final stand occurred. The hike to Jefferson Rock was also a highlight. Experiencing in person how the valley is nestled between the mountains, and witnessing the powerful union of the Shenandoah and Potomac rivers gave me a new perspective on one of the events that changed American history. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1804, the Pope crowns Napoleon Emperor of France at Notre Dame in Paris. In 1823, in his State of the Union address, U.S. President Monroe proclaims the Monroe Doctrine. In 1917, Russia agrees to exit World War I, surrendering 1 million square miles of territory. In 1957, in a publicity stunt, an Oregon DJ is fired for playing Elvis's rendition of White Christmas. In 1970, U.S. President Richard Nixon creates the Environmental Protection Agency. In 1993, Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar is killed just months after escaping custody. In 2001, Enron files for bankruptcy, triggering a massive U.S. corporate scandal. And now it's time for our Today in History quiz. When was the first ever SMS text message sent? 1986? 1988? 1990? Or 1992? Liked learning about John Brown and the raid on Harpers Ferry? Then you'll also enjoy this one about the slave revolt aboard the Amistad. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.